Beaming to you from the Plastic Microphone Studios deep in the heart of Cajun country, this is Fave 5 from Fans. I'm your host, Jamie Ray, and we're about to get started. Today, I've invited Andy Rickets of he's not of the Plastic Microphone Studios, but he's zooming into the Plastic Microphone Studios to discuss our Fave 5 comedies. Wait, is that like a really huge, broad topic for the show? I know, right? I mean, you would think it would be, I don't know, black and white comedies from 1954 to 1957 that aren't in any foreign languages, but no, it's just going to be comedies. Andy's the father of 3 girls and is married to the love of his life, Courtney. He is a youth pastor in Louisiana, and that means he pastors youth, not that he's he's younger than I am, but I'm pretty old. So he's also the co-host of the Rushmore Show. The Rushmore He's a co-host of the Rushmore Show. Along with that, he also has a YouTube channel with his family called Girl Dad. It's really cute. It's got like a beard with a little bow in it. It's sweet. He's a lover of Jesus, music, and all things comedy. Please take a moment to welcome Andy to the show.
What is up, man? So excited to be here, man, and finally make this work.
Right?
Make it happen. We've been talking about this for what, like 15 years?
Yeah, but really, if you think about it, 2 weeks ago is when we settled on it. So it's really only been 2 weeks. Let's just say that. It's just been 2 weeks.
I just needed you to bust out your notebook and then corner me, essentially, and then force me to pick a date. That's what I need.
It's never far from me.
I appreciate it, man. No, I'm excited to be here, man. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, I tasked you though, didn't I?
Yeah, well, in a way, yeah. So I think we kind of chatted about this topic, and in the bio, I'm a big comedy fan. That's just been my whole life. I just want to laugh. Yeah. I just want to, I don't want to think too seriously about it. Now, and drama's got its points, and there's movies that I love that are serious and stuff. But if I really think about it, when I want to enjoy a movie and sit down, I just want to laugh. I just want to have fun. I mean, there's too much seriousness in this world as it is.
Amen.
Just give me a minute to just kind of escape, right? And I know some people like that in fantasy and stuff. And for me, it's just always been comedy. So when we talked about this topic, I was like, well, immediately, yeah, comedy, pop culture, I love it. But then I realized I should have narrowed this down and put some boundaries, because comedy is like saying, what's your favorite, words, right? I mean, like there's a billion of them. And
taco. That's my favorite.
That's up there. Have you ever been 5 fave words? Because
no.
But it'd be like and this is bonus content, but like to me it'd be like things like Golly Whopper, or I'm not saying that that's on it, but it would be one of those ones that's kind of.
I think it is going to be on yours.
Yeah, it's probably up there. It's up there. Cattywampus. That's a fun one. There's some fun words. Anyway, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know how I got on this, but comedy is difficult, man. And as much as I love it, again, I should have gone like a few episodes back where you did the pre-1960s. Not that I would have ever. I'll tell you, I knew one movie that you guys mentioned, and it
from the whole list.
And it was the one that you said I don't even think counts as a comedy, and It's a Wonderful Life. Like I literally didn't know any. I was like, okay, cool, I'll take their word for it. I mean, I know like Abbott and Costello, like I know them, but I couldn't like tell you that I knew that movie at all. Right. So
yeah. But Tobias knew some stuff, man. I mean, It was incredible what he knows. And that's what I love about some of my guests, especially that have all that passion about the stuff. I learned so much. I mean, yes, he had nowhere near the 16 honorable mention limit. But he had some great ones, and I've gone back and added them to my list, and I've already watched one of them. And he's right. He's right. So
yeah, it's gonna be a fun time though, man.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. So you are, like we said, you're on the Rushmore Show along with Girl Dad. So why don't you tell us a little bit about both of those and where people can find them?
Yeah, so if you go to YouTube, that's our 2 main platforms for our shows. The Rushmore Show, me and Kirk was a guest on your show. That episode was it was a disaster.
Yes, it was a total disaster.
It's a total disaster.
It's never going to get old either. I'm going to say it every time we talk about that episode.
He walked into that. He knew that he knew what he was signing up for. No, but Kirk was on here. Kirk's a great friend of mine. Funny story. He was the youth pastor that I was serving under. He left, and he got called into missions in Atlanta, and I've kind of assumed that role. So I like to joke and say I took his job away from him.
Yeah.
But we were able to reconnect. We stayed connected that whole time, right? Really, really close, almost like a family member to me. And one day we just decided, hey, we should do this podcast. We were having conversations about Rushmores. We were doing stuff, and it just kind of became this thing that we never really thought it was going to be. And for whatever reason, people want to hang out with us. I don't know. It's weird, but
Yeah, it's a great show. Y'all got that brotherly love is very, very apparent there.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. But so yeah, you can catch us on the Rushmore show. We just did 2 months of video games. We're doing music. So we always do video games, we do music, we do food. Amen.
Amen.
We do movies, movies and TV. We do sports. We're big sports nerds too.
I love the American sports ball.
Yeah. Yeah, touchdown and a hole in one all in one, right?
Oh.
And then we do one that we cheat, and we call it nostalgia for 2 months, which essentially just means we can pick whatever we want for those 2 months.
Toys.
Yeah, we've done toys, we've done cereal. I think wound up. I know we talked about food, but we fit cereal into nostalgia before. We've done like Saturday morning cartoon. I mean, it's just been a lot of fun. So it's it's a good way to kind of relive that nostalgia. And then it also, the biggest thing, kind of like you bring on guests, and and I'm sure this is similar to you. Like, my favorite thing about doing the Rushmore show is connecting and building a community and networking and just being able to meet new people and hear about their childhood and stuff like that, which part of why I love your show. And ours is similar in the sense where now we say top four, you say favorite, and I don't tell Kirk. I know this is going to be out there. I think your word probably fits more to what we're doing, because it is about you. It's your top four, right? So it is. It's on air.
Take that.
It's on air saying
that's going to be my ringtone.
But it's really about that. It's about opinion, and it's about because the Rushmore concept is essentially the way that it's used in pop culture is, what are the critics' top four of all time? And it's boring, right? Because everybody, you have to agree, right? Or there's a fight about it. You have to us, it's like, could be out of left field. You would have never put this in your top. And it's, similar for your show, but it's just interesting. It's fun with that. And then since doing the Rushmore show, my girls are growing. I've got a 10 and a 7-year-old, and now an almost 1-year-old, which I think by the time this is out, so we're time traveling. She's one now, but either way, hey, there you go. But by the time this, 10, 7, 1, and they're all about watching family videos on YouTube, like the family blogs and family stuff. So they wanted to do something. And one day they were homesick, and I'm dad, and I love comedy, and I love having fun. So I was like, let's go to Crumble Cookies. Right.
Ooh.
And then I was like, let's not just go to, because we got a Crumble here for whatever reason. And let's not do it. Let's just film a little thing. And it was just going to be like a one video little deal. Oh, they loved it. They loved it. They were all about it. They're like, Dad, are you editing it? I'm like, man, I'm going to edit this stuff. I got to do all this stuff.
It's work.
Yeah, but it's been a ton of fun. We don't put it out nearly as often or as consistently, I guess, as the Rushmore show. But every couple months or so, every month we put out a video. It's just when we have fun. They love it.
Right.
And it's kind of become a food show. It's kind of what it's become, because we're always taste testing different stuff. So anyway,
and we thank you for doing that.
It's stuff that they don't want to eat that they want me to eat. So but I'll do it. I'll do it for them. So it's a ton of fun. So you can find us YouTube, the Rushmore show, or I think it's Girl Dad Rad, because Girl Dad's kind of a thing that people say, but you can find us on YouTube for sure.
And we'll have all of those links in the notes for the show, so you can click and go directly to them and just watch to your heart content. And again, without saying, it's all family friendly stuff. So
absolutely.
You could sit down with the entire family and watch it.
Yep.
Well, cool. That's very cool. So you have been tasked with making this list, and you've already told me how difficult it was. As we talk, there are honorable mentions, and so I'm guessing you might have a couple of honorable mentions.
Yeah, I have 40
for the record. 45. We have a new record.
I could have had 45 easily. But I'm sparing your listeners all of this time, and I've given you 5 honorable mentions tonight.
5.
So
Oh,
we got
okay.
5 and 5. We're going 5. Listen, I'm Rushmore show. We're 4. I figured I'm coming over to Jamie's show. I better embrace the number 5.
There
I'm
you
just
go.
like, why not live
Why
it?
not? Why
You know?
not? That is awesome. That is
So
I'm good. So each one is going to take 5 minutes, and
yes, absolutely. Hopefully you've got more than 5 listeners to
oh, I
this.
do. I have 13. You
Okay,
know,
well that's good.
and
That's
as of this recording, I've slipped a little in Barbados and Antigua. I don't know what's happening there, but I've got I'm down to number 92. So we've really got to
dang.
talk about the Caribbean more and how much I
Well,
like jerk chicken and stuff like that. You
I'll
know?
boost your numbers up. We have a large following in the Caribbean.
Ah,
Once they see that we're on here, then I'm just kidding.
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, good. Well, so I think if you're ready, I'm ready. So
Right.
we will start with your honorable mentions. And if you've never seen the show or listened to us before, an honorable mention is something that you tried really hard to get into your Fave 5, but you just couldn't do it. So this is a little gray area to say, okay, it's in there somewhere. Or it's either something so bad or so memorable that it doesn't make your list, but you want to talk about it. And like we said, you can have as many as you want, less than 16. Um, so I think
Yeah.
I've got brown. Your color is brown for today. So
Okay.
if you're ready, why don't we go ahead and get started with your honorable mentions?
All right. Well, look, on the Rushmore show, we call these Benjamins because we do the whole
Oh,
presidential Benjamin Franklin, although not a president, was apparently on an internet article, which is true, right?
yeah.
Widely considered to potentially be one of the faces on Rushmore, wound up not being it. So we've now kind of adopted that mentality. That's our honorable mentions, right?
Okay.
So if you watch our show, we do that too, Benjamins. But yeah, so this list was difficult, man, and all 5 of these could easily have been. This could have been my top 5, right?
Right. Mm,
So
your
to
Fave 5.
start off, my fave 5. Sorry.
That's a
Just
quarter.
edit it out every
Nope.
every time.
Nope. That's a quarter.
Put it on my tab. Yeah, I got you. By the end of this, I hope to not be bankrupt. So we've been doing this 3 years. Trying to change my vocabulary right now is difficult. So anyway, one of my favorite movies of all time is from a little known guy. He's actually a polka singer, believe it or not. Maybe you've heard of him. His name is Al Yankovic, Weird Al, and he
No, I don't think
stars
so.
in this movie called UHF. UHF is one of my favorite. Oh, look, there it is. Alapalooza. I love it. That's amazing. UHF is so funny. Again, so in Rushmore, we talk about our criteria, and a lot of the reason why I picked these movies, and it'll just go throughout my whole list. Honorable mentions and my actual fave 5. There's another fave. There you go. I said it. I'm trying to work back. But the quotability and the rewatchability are to me, when it comes to movies, are my top 2. It's my favorite 2 elements. Dang it, I'm back in the red.
It's okay. Now you're back in the red.
But yeah, so if I can quote it, if I can quote it just in the middle of a normal conversation,
right.
And then if I can rewatch it, because UHF is a movie that it's not recent, right? We're talking, this has been out for quite a while, but I can continue to watch it and it still holds up for me.
Yeah.
I know that's not the same for everyone, but when I think of UHF, I think of the Wheel of Fish and the guy who spins you want the red snapper or what's in the box? I'll take the box. What's in the box? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Stupid. You're so stupid. I love UHF, man. It's so good. And then all the quirkiness of Weird Al, just weird, right? And all of those things. Badgers, we don't need no stinking badgers. Like I love UHF is a great movie. I remember watching it with my dad a lot. So I didn't mention this. A lot of my love for comedies come from my dad. This is the same kind of movie that he was watching. We sat down and we watched all these together. It was kind of a bonding thing. And to this day, we'll still quote all of these movies that I'm going to mention. So yeah, starting off my honorable mentions with UHF is a fantastic one. Moving on, so comedy is a huge part of my life, and I mentioned too that one of my favorite things is music. I've played music, gosh, close to 20 years now, a little over 20 years now. Drummer, played some guitar, been in bands. Actually started out serving in our church on the worship team. So music has always been a huge part. It still continues to be a huge part of my life. Love music. My daughter's in piano, so it's just my wife played violin.
Get her on the piano.
Orchestra. I know, right? So with that said, this movie combines two of my favorite things, music and comedy. And I'm going, because we're going to turn our amps all the way up to 11, and we're going to say this is Spinal Tap. I die laughing with this movie. So it's a mockumentary, right? It's this whole idea of this band that's over the top, elaborate, kind of like an Iron Maiden style band. And if you haven't seen this, again, if I'm spoiling it for you, this is on you.
Yeah.
You've had plenty of time, but it's so funny. My favorite is when they craft this stage set of Stonehenge. Stonehenge is going to come out, and it's going to be the best thing ever. And then it comes out, and he actually gave him the measurement in inches or whatever, and not feet. And Stonehenge comes out, and it's like 3 inches tall or whatever. And it's but it's so funny. And then the scene where they're backstage and they're trying to find the entrance to the stage, and they keep going to the wrong spot. They run into the janitor, and by the time like the show's over, by the time they find how to actually get to the stage, the amp's going to 11. Gosh, this movie is so good. This is Spinal Tap, one that I watch a ton. The next honorable mention too is music and comedy together, and this is, I think, one of the most underrated comedies. I really tried to get this in my favorite 5. Gosh, you heard it right. This is a movie, a little known. I wouldn't even call it an Adam Sandler movie. Adam Sandler's in this movie,
okay,
but this is more of a Brendan Fraser movie, and I'm going to Airheads.
Oh yes,
so good. The idea is there's this rock band that is trying so hard to get their demo tape played. Brendan Fraser is trying to get back with his girlfriend, so there's like that.
Liv Tyler.
I believe so. Okay. I'm gonna have to do some research, but yes, I believe so. So they get the demo tape, but the radio station won't play it, so then they take it hostage, right? And but it's like fake hostage. They play it up. They paint these guns, these like squirt guns and whatever. And my it's just, man, it's such a good movie. And my favorite scene is when they're at the door, and it's, who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God? Lemmy. Trick question. Lemmy is God.
It's God.
Oh man, it's so good. And then their band name is the Lone Rangers, and everybody keeps saying, well, how can you be the Lone Rangers? You can't be alone if you have multiple. But man, it's so fun. And like I said, Adam Sandler's in this. He's the drummer of the band, and he's a big part in the movie, but this is kind of pre him blowing up into the Adam Sandler that we know. So yeah, Airheads. Next two these are the real honorable mentions.
Okay.
These are the real ones, right? Not that these other ones weren't, but
no.
I'm gonna go to a Mike Judge movie. If you know Mike Judge, not Beavis and Butthead Do America, but I'm gonna go to Office Space. Office Space
so
is
good.
Such a good movie. Your name's Michael Bolton. Why don't you change your name? Why should I change my name? He's the one that sucks. Yeah, it's so good. It's quotable. It's the stapler.
My stapler.
Did you get the memo? You got the memo? We're gonna need you to come in on
Saturday.
Yeah. It's so funny, man, because and then the whole what was it? Tchotchkes is the name of the restaurant, Tchotchkes, and it's like, so you want more flair?
More flair?
Do you really want to be the minimum? Well, the minimum's 12, right? I have 12. Yeah. So more flair? I'm not saying that. Anyway, it's just, if you've ever worked in restaurants too, that's kind of a funny little nod there. But yeah, this movie is so good. There'd be this. Oh, go ahead.
The red stapler. So I love to tell people, because I have a red stapler, red swing line stapler. Yeah. Did you know that there was no such thing as the red swing line stapler? that they painted those for the movie, and then after the
Really?
movie came out and it was so popular that they had to start making them in red.
Wow. I didn't know that. I did
Yeah,
not know
yeah,
that.
the
I
the,
would I
the
didn't
power of Hollywood.
I don't brush up on my stapler trivia that often, but I'm
Oh,
glad
I've
someone
got
does.
tons
That's
of
good.
it. You know,
Yeah. No. But yeah, Office Space is just, gosh, I to this day I'll continue to watch that movie. I like the board game that the guy makes. He says it's called Jump to Conclusions. You got a board and with conclusions that you jump to. This idea you have is horrible. I just this like again, part of this too, as great of quotes are in these movies.
hmm
Um, people, I say people, my wife doesn't want to watch these with me.
Oh,
It makes her so mad. She's like, I watch the movie. They say the lines, you don't have to. I'm like, but I
that's
can't.
not how it works. I can.
There's no holding it back. I have to say the words. So she won't watch these with me.
Uh,
But
shame.
it is what it is. But Office Space, fantastic. And then my final honorable mention, one of the biggest cult classic comedies of all time. Um, this was a movie that I feel like no one has ever seen it, but then when I quote it, everyone I talk to has seen it. It's like no one
Okay.
talks about having seen this movie for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's criminally underrated. People don't
Powerful
talk
words.
about this enough. And I'm going to PCU. PCU is there you go. See, I'm stumping you here. It's an amazing movie. This is so they're at this. David Spade's in this one, right? He's not the main guy, I wouldn't say, but in this movie, there's these. They're at this prestigious kind of Ivy League college, right? And there's just this ragtag group of people that take over this. They have this fraternity, and the university is turning to PCU, right? It's supposed
Oh,
to be
okay.
PC. It's supposed to be like prim and proper, and they're trying to reestablish it. So the whole idea is they're trying to kick this group of stoners and drunks and all this is whatever group of people out of this fraternity house, and they're fighting back at it, and it's just
Oh,
shenanigans, right? It
oh
happens,
okay.
so it's an amazing movie. There's so many great quotes. For one, there's this they're going to a concert, and I forget the band, but the guy's wearing the shirt of the band he's going to see. I think it was Megadeth. And he says, "You're wearing the shirt of the band you're going to see. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy." And like people say, "Don't be that guy," and this is from PCU. Like this is where
Ah,
this is where this is coming from.
okay.
We don't know that. This George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic is a huge part of this.
Oh,
They get
okay.
them to come play this big fraternity party, and the funny. So
He was one of my favorite presidents.
yeah, yeah, he's on that Rushmore. He's on that Rushmore for sure. But yeah, like so again, I'm just pulling the cast up here because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, all of this. Jeremy Piven, David Spade, John Favreau is in this as
Oh,
Gutter,
happy.
and so John Favreau doesn't know who George Clinton and P Funk is. So he says, "You got a funk band coming?" Or what's he say? No, I thought you hated punk. Funk, man, aren't you a music major? Like, oh, dude, it's such a good movie. Chris Young is in the. I mean, you go through this list, but yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, it's kind of
Mm.
again, like I said, it's a cult classic, hilarious. I quote it all the time. There's this group of like these jocks that come to this party, and for whatever reason, there's no chips, like
What?
dipping chips at this party, and they just start the gig is that they just chant about anything because they're just meatheads, right? And they're like, you know what this party could use more? Chips, 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 and they just start chanting it. So literally every time I'm somewhere and we don't have chips or the chips aren't out or something, like, you know what this party could use
Yeah.
more? Chips, 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 chips. But please go see this movie. It is way too good. Also, the soundtrack is fantastic because this is set. This is 1994. This movie comes
Okay.
out, so it's like kind of like early 90s. If you think about like the Pearl Jams and like the
The
alternative
grunge. Yeah.
rocks, grunge, and all that kind of stuff that's out during that time, and so you have that element of it too.
Oh,
So
okay.
I wish I
Awesome.
could talk about them more, but that's my honorable mention. So You don't have five, from what I
No,
hear. You
no,
you have two, which is
two.
good, which is good,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So what are your what barely missed your list of
So
favorites?
I will say right away, I am I'm 50. Well, so I grew up on watching some comedies that could not be made in this day and time anymore. Okay. And I'm not giving an opinion on that one way or the other. So I've put both of these honorable mentions together because they are movies that, like you talk about, rewatchability and quotability. For both of these movies, all of the time, it's something slipping out and coming out. You've briefly touched on one already, and that is when we hear badges. I don't need no stinking badges. And I am, of course, talking about Blazing Saddles from 1974.
Okay.
And this cleverly satirical twist on Westerns, the cunning railroad worker Bart, who's played by Cleavon Little, becomes the first black sheriff of Rock Ridge, a town that's on the brink of destruction to make room for a new railroad. At first, the people of Rock Ridge are less than thrilled to have him, showing a little bit of their prejudice, but soon they discover that Bart and his trusty, though always intoxicated gunfighter pal, portrayed by the legendary Gene Wilder, are their only hopes against a group of ruthless thugs hell bent on wiping out the time, led by the mean Headley Lamar, not Hetty, from played by Harvey Korman, and Taggart, played by Slim Pickens, with the somewhat clueless governor William J. Lepetamy by Mel Brooks himself. So it's a great movie. It's hilarious. It's very unpolitically correct with a group
Yes.
of unlikely heroes, but it is about the power of unity in the face of adversity. And what other Western ends with a 1920s style fountain dance? I mean, it just doesn't happen. So that's going to be one
It's
of
a
my honorable
great pick.
mentions.
That's a
Uh,
great pick. It
Thank you
doesn't get talked about a lot anymore. I think for
for obvious reasons.
obvious reasons, but the quicksand scene is one that I
Oh
always
my
go to.
gosh.
It's
For me, it's Candy Graham for Mongo.
good pick.
So the
Good
other
pick.
is a lesser known film called The Kentucky Fried Movie. So, do I got you on that one?
You stumped me.
Okay. So this is a movie from 1977, and the first two-thirds of the movie are basically a nod to the B movie legend Samuel Z. Arkoff, who made like all of these different movies. So they have some trailers in there, they have some little skits, they have like a blaxploitation trailer for a movie Cleopatra Schwartz, and about a film that's called That's Armageddon. There's at the end of the movie, it's called A Fistful of Yen, and it's a really brilliant spoof of all of the early kung fu movies like Enter the Dragon, complete with an army and a mirror room, and the villain has interchangeable hands. Not a lot of people that you would know from it, but it was the brainchild. All of these fictional films are the brainchilds of Samuel L. Bronkowitz, and which is kind of a mashup between Samuel Bronston and Joseph L. Mankiewicz, a name you're probably familiar with. Again, it is a very unpolitically correct film, though I absolutely love it and I quote it way more than I should. So it's a lot of fun. Later on, you may be familiar with Amazon Women on the Moon, that basically took a lot of its nods from this film.
Nice.
So that's my two honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's a. I'm gonna have to look it up for sure. I'm pulling it up as you're talking, and
Uh-huh.
one thing I'll say, um, not to do necessarily with the comedy of it, but like some of these movies in the '70s had just awesome artwork
Yeah.
for like the movie poster and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is this is one of those things just really cool. The Statue of Liberty and the shoe and I don't
Yes.
know. It looks really cool. It looks really cool, man. So I'm gonna have to pull that up. Is that somewhere? I mean, I can. Oh, it says I can find it on Tubi for free. So
Well, there you
That's how
go.
you know it's
There
good.
you
So,
go. So
uh,
for me, there's several things in the movie, but the end is just a whole thing unto itself with that fistful of yen. It's great. If you've ever seen a Bruce Lee movie, this is what Bruce Lee with comedy would be like. So,
awesome,
yeah.
awesome. That's a
All
good
right.
pick, man. I
Well,
like
we
that.
have gotten our honorables out of the way. Why don't we hear your number 5 favorite film?
My number 5 favorite film. So I'm not going to venture to the 60s. I'm
Okay.
not going to venture to the pre-60s for sure.
Okay.
I said before we started recording, I said I had to look up every one of those movies.
By the way,
Um,
you should find and watch Harvey.
yeah, that's the one that looks good. That I was
It's
like, okay, I
really,
definitely want to.
really good.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm not even going to the 70s. My earliest one is going to be in the 80s time, but most of this stuff is 90s, 2000s. That's kind of where, again, I'm born 89, so I'm growing up, and like these are just the movies that I'm watching, right? So um a lot of these movies again were things that I'm watching with my dad. They just have different little quirks about them
Uh-huh.
that make me remember them, and it's all going to come back to the quotability. It's all going to come back to the rewatchability. It's all going to come back to all of those things. And I just like, from a comedy standpoint, I'm even kind of particular in that, in the sense of there's some comedy that's like smart comedy. I don't know
Hmm.
if that's the right phrase, but it's like you have to, it's like really got to kind of think about this stuff.
No
These
fart
ones are like,
jokes.
no, this is fart jokes. This is in your face. This is just, man, I just want to laugh. Part of the reason I get into comedy is that it's my kind of escape, right?
Yeah.
And we can't live in escape, but it does give me an hour and a half to 2 hours that I can just forget about stuff and just laugh. And then when
Right.
I leave the movie, I'm done. Like I don't have to hold this like cliffhanger, whatever. Anyway, all that kind of stuff. So all of that to say, my number 5 it was a film, came out in 1998, although
Okay.
the setting of the movie is not 1998. The setting of the movie
Ooh.
is like early to mid 80s.
Okay.
I already mentioned this actor one time, but this actually is an Adam Sandler movie.
Yes.
uh Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. I'm
Yes.
talking, of course, about The Wedding
Wait,
Singer.
Singer.
The Wedding
Yes.
Singer is one of my favorite movies of all time. I still watch it today. Actually, in fact, the last time I watched it, I do a mission trip every year to Argentina. The last time I watched it, I was over some country at 2 in the morning in a plane on a little screen right in front of me, just dying laughing on this
Yeah.
airplane to Wedding Singer. It doesn't matter how many times I watch this movie, it's like it doesn't get old.
Mhm.
I'm still gonna, like, the jokes still come at me like from left field. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good. um so funny, or cool fact about this, Carrie Fisher actually worked as an uncredited worker on this script.
Mhm.
So you've got that. Judd Apatow was always a part of this movie too, again uncredited. Obviously this is one of those big Adam Sandler movies. A lot of the guys who are kind of in his movies, Alan Covert's in this, like a lot of these guys who are in a lot of these Happy Madison films
Mhm.
are found in this one too. Kind of has that same crew that he runs with. But a funny story about this movie is, when my wife and I now have been married. Gosh, you edit this out to make it seem like I know. Okay. No, 2012. So whatever that winds up being, that's 12 years now.
10
So
years,
12 years,
11 years,
um, something like that.
15 years.
Yeah, it sounds
Always
like
say, baby, it feels like it was just yesterday.
there you go. But when we got married, I surprised her and I actually learned the To Grow Old With You, the song
Oh,
that he sang in the
love that
airplane.
song.
So I learned it on guitar. I totally surprised her. She walks in and then I sing that song and it's great. That scene, nobody messes with Billy Idol.
You don't talk to
Uh,
Billy like that.
I love that
And
scene.
as you
But I
know,
mean,
our first class passengers can pretty much do whatever they want.
yeah, absolutely. And then, there's the funny joke, which is always one that kind of just gets overlooked. I don't even think it's seen as a joke, but if it's like, when his ex-girlfriend's there and she's wearing the Van Halen shirt and he says, take off that shirt before they break up. And like,
Yeah.
actually it's said in the year where they broke up, which is
Uh,
super funny. It's just a funny
yeah.
little thing there.
Oh, I
The
love, and he
whole
comes down with the $1,000 CD player.
yeah. I just got it. I just got from Radio Shack or whatever it was. Yeah, like I just like so many funny little references in this one. You know, the obviously all of the songs that he sings at the weddings, you know, when he gets depressed and he's like, you know what? I have the mic and you'll listen to me. You know,
Shut
like
up.
yeah, the Love Stinks scene where he's like, you know, the weirdos over at table 3 are ready for food. You know, like I just here's the thing. Adam Sandler is one of my favorite comedians. I mean,
Okay.
to me, there's a lot of movies um, that he does that kind of people don't like. You know, particularly maybe some more of his recent work, but he's kind of ventured into some more dramatic roles, which has been
Right.
really cool to see. But he will always be the gibberish speaking Jabadoo. He like that's the
Yeah.
guy to me when it comes to
Opera
Adam
man.
Sandler. Yeah, absolutely. I think of SNL. I just think of with him and Chris Farley and just all of those things. So the Wedding Singer is just from the beginning to the end of that movie. Again, soundtrack, if you love 80s music,
Incredible.
it's incredible. It's everything that you want. Yeah, gosh, I can talk about this movie forever, but I love
Julia Gulia.
Julie, Robbie and Julia. Do you really want to hurt me? Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
we
we do.
do.
Oh gosh, yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
Wedding Singer.
bravo, sir. Bravo. That was on my short list. It almost made
Yeah.
it to the honorable mentions.
All
Yeah.
right, all right.
Yeah.
So you're going to continue. Let's see
Well,
you top Wedding Singer.
I'm going to stay right in that same general area, and I'm
Okay.
going to pick a film from 1992. And again, this is incredibly requotable. My my biological clock is ticking, ticking, ticking. So I am, of course, talking about My Cousin Vinny, with
Yes.
Ralph Macchio and Mitchell Whitfield playing two New York Utes who are arrested in Alabama and put on trial for a murder they didn't commit. Unable to afford their lawyer, they are defended by Gambini's cousin Vinny Gambini, played by Joe Pesci, and who had just recently got his bar, like the week before, and his fiancee Mona Lisa Vito, played by Marissa Tomei, who, if I'm not mistaken, got an Academy Award nomination, or maybe even the Academy Award. I don't know, but anyway, she deserved it. So it's a clash between the brash Italian American New Yorkers and the more reserved Southern townspeople, such as District Attorney Jim Trotter III, played by Lane Smith, who will always be my Perry White, and Judge Chamberlain Haller in Fred Gwynn's final performance. And just the fact that all of these things, that, yeah, oh, you think I'm hostile now? Wait till we get back home. And what were these magic grits?
My favorite scene in this one, I maybe not favorite scene. There's so many good ones. Obviously, what is a Ute? The
Yeah.
Ute, right? That's always fun. But when she's when they're on trial, right? And then she does this long explanation of why this car wouldn't be. It's like in the night. I just pulled it up just to have it. However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees before top dead center. Like I just this whole like what?
They're all going like, is
I
that right?
yeah,
Is that
sure.
right? Yeah, that's
Checks
she's
out.
right.
That
Yeah.
checks out. Yeah, that's a fun little scene right there. But
It
yeah, this is
really is.
Joe
That
Pesci.
all I watch it. I mean, it's always, I ended up picking it up on physical media because things drop off and on all the time. So
Right.
I've got it on the shelf right behind me, and we'll throw it in when I need to. Just his wait, you were serious about that?
I love Joe Pesci though. I
Yes.
mean, he to me, Joe Pesci too, like is very much I don't know if typecast is the right word, but he's almost the same character in a lot of the things that he does, but I love it. Like
Yeah.
he's got that he doesn't do anything to change his voice. He's always that. He's always Joe Pesci. You know it's Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
But and then obviously you said Ralph Macchio and just, Marissa Tomei. I mean all of those. It's just a great cast. Great classic movie. 1992,
Yeah.
man. There's some good comedies coming out early 90s for sure.
Yeah.
Or throughout
Yeah.
the 90s, right? So I love
Yeah.
that pick.
Well, excellent. Well, I'm glad you like it. Why don't you tell me what your number 4 is? See if you can do any better.
This is my newest movie.
Oh,
And it's not very new. It's still 20 years old. But so 2004, this movie comes out. I mentioned I've played music, and I've played music for a long time. And so this was in 2004. This is probably about 2009 ish or so. I'm in a band, and we go out to this little town, actually not far from around the Lafayette area, I believe.
oh,
And we were recording our demo with a guy that we knew out there. He kind of converted his house into this studio,
oh,
and he
cool.
had in the living room area, he had a VCR, believe it or not. And the only VHS that he had was this one.
Okay.
So we spent the week there recording, and we watched this movie the whole time, right? Because if you're not part of the recording process, if it's not your turn to record, you're really not doing anything. You don't have to be there, but we were kind of like, we're like all going to go and hang out. And so I say that because we just watched this nonstop on repeat, and it's one of my favorite movies, 2004, from another one of my favorite comedians. He's actually on the Rushmore of comedians that we've done. Adam Sandler
Oh,
and this guy are on there for me. And I'm speaking of Will Ferrell. The movie I'm talking
okay.
about, Anchorman, The
Uh-huh.
Legend of Ron Burgundy. Now, polarizing actor. Will Ferrell, people hate him, people love him. Like, I don't know what it is. If you're going to talk about fart jokes and just whatever, Will Ferrell's probably your guy. He's up there with just stupid comedy. But
Right.
Will Ferrell, Christina Applegate, Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, Fred Willard's in this. I mean, just so many amazing actors in this, and a great cast. Quotability. I mean, I'm Ron Burgundy. The whole, all of that kind of stuff that's
Sexual
happening in this
Panther.
movie. 60% of the time it works every time. That doesn't add up. The whole scene where they're singing sky rockets in flight. They do that. What he says, they said the news channel is pushing for more diversity, so they're bringing on Christina Applegate's character, who's a female anchor, and it's set in the 70s. It's set this time where like that was not happening,
Oh,
right? It
yeah.
was a man's world, right? And they say that news companies pushing for more diversity, and they say, excuse me, but what is diversity? And then Ron, just out of nowhere, just trying to sound smart, I believe diversity is an old wooden ship used in
Oh,
the Civil War era. Like, no, that's not
no.
it at all. No. Just so one of the things that I love about pretty much all the actors who are in this movie, they're all very much impromptu, right? They just this is kind of what they do. There's so many outtakes in these movies because they were just trying to like kind of figure out lines as they're going, right? They're doing all of this ad lib stuff, and whatever sticks, and it's just the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
It's belly laugh, it's dying laughing every time. I mean, there's not a moment in the movie that's not a joke, right? Like
Right.
the whole time from the beginning to the end is just hilarious. I found a fun fact about this movie too. Do you know Will Ferrell? And again, this is on the internet, so
No, it's true.
was on IMDb, so I figured it was a pretty. But I think
Yeah.
people can kind of put their things in. Who knows? Take this or leave it, but I'm giving it to you. Will Ferrell actually graduated from college with a degree in journalism and anchored the local news a few times before breaking into comedy. So
Wow.
he was kind of a method actor when it came
Yeah.
to this movie of Ron Burgundy. Anchorman did have a sequel that came out way later that no one asked for and nobody needs because it's
Yeah.
not good. It's really not good. But this movie, it lives with me forever.
Yeah.
I literally say this all the time, and he does, kind of like the how now brown cow. He does that when he's warming up for this, but
Yeah.
he says them in this. And at our church, like we'll film video announcements every now and then, and I jokingly say this vocal warm up that he used in this movie. And he always he's getting ready, he's tapping his sheets or whatever, he's getting ready to report the news, and he says, the Human Torch was denied a bank loan. The arsonist had oddly shaped feet. Like, I don't even know why that's so funny. But if anyone else in the world said that line, it's not funny. But Will Ferrell says it.
Yeah.
He can do no wrong for me.
Oh, wow.
I love this movie. It's
Yeah.
something about Will Ferrell. Again, an SNL guy,
Mhm.
You'll kind of see some common thread through a lot of this stuff. That I'm a big SNL fan. A
Yeah.
lot of these guys just got their start there, and you know, Lorne Michaels knew what he was doing when he's
Oh yeah.
casting these guys
Oh
and
yeah, for sure.
launching their careers. So yeah, there's my number 4, Anchorman,
That's a
Legend
good one.
on Burgundy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll dig it. Is that the one where they have the anchor man fight, like the
Yes.
rumble?
So
Yes.
Vince Vaughn is like the other guy. It's all the different local news stations, and it's
Hmm.
almost like warriors, right? Like
Exactly.
warriors, and they all get in this area. One's got a bat, one's got a chain, like whatever, and they do this whole deal. And like Steve Carell's character is like just an idiot the whole
Yeah.
time. Like he's literally like he's whatever. There's one scene where he's putting mayonnaise in a toaster. Like and it's just nobody talks about it. But Steve, he's like on a horse. He's like got a grenade in his hand, and he's just running around with a grenade. Not even. It's just so funny, man. It's the whole time. It's like they just wanted to pack. Again, like I said, there's not a dead moment in this movie
Oh
where you're
yeah.
just like waiting for the next joke. It's there. It's there the whole time.
Awesome. That's a
Yeah.
great pick. That is a
Yeah.
great pick, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes me
Which
think that I know of, I'm thinking there's going to be another comedian that's going to be a little bit lower down your list, and I'm waiting to see if I'm going to be right.
okay. We'll
We'll
see. We'll
see.
see.
We'll
We'll see.
see.
But while we're waiting for that, where are you
Uh-huh.
going with your next one?
Well,
Number 4.
mine is from 1987, and I'm going to throw a line out and see if you know it. Boy, you got a panty on your head. No,
I'm
no.
no,
Okay,
no.
okay. It is Raising Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
With Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter. Have you ever seen this one?
So I have not, but
Oh, okay.
let me say this. I feel like I've seen it, but
Uh-huh.
in order for me to see something again, the rewatch, like I've got to have watched it a bunch of times. And I feel like at some point in my life I've seen this because I'm looking at like I see Nick Cage and his character and I know that
Mhm.
character. Yeah.
H.I. McDonough. Um, so this is a movie I actually saw in the theaters back in 80. I was 17 years old. I probably saw it multiple times because I fell in love with this movie. I have watched this movie probably dozens of times. It is it's a crazy movie about a guy, a convenience store bandit, who ends up falling in love with the police officer who takes his mugshot every time he gets in, and then finally they end up getting married, and they can't have children, and so they basically take a child, and all of this other stuff happens, and it's just a wild, wild adventure. It's got John Goodman in it. It's got,
Yes.
so it's so hard to explain. I mean, at one point there's a bounty hunter with Tweety Bird on his arm, who is like one of the horsemen of the apocalypse that shows up. It's a great funny movie, and I love it. I repeat stuff from it all the time. My womb is a barren wasteland. Uh, just absolutely love it. I am entreating you that you should watch it again and let me
Yeah,
know what you think.
absolutely. Absolutely. And this goes in the line of like Nick Cage just takes some roles that are like, what? I
Yeah,
didn't like, I don't even know how to pin Nick Cage as an actor
it's because you can't.
because you can't. He's not a comedic actor, but he is comedic, right? He's not a serious actor, but he's serious. He's not where do you put him into? But yeah, this is interesting. I'm gonna definitely look into this one. I'm always in for a John Goodman movie though. So
Yeah, and
do
he's
like,
great.
yeah.
He and who was the other guy? Is it Steve Buscemi? That's the other Gale, and I can't remember, but there's two people that were he was in prison with that break out and show up, and they're looking for to refuge. And the wife, of course, she used to be an ex-cop. She wants none of it. And then
Hmm.
they find out about the baby and all this other stuff. It's a great comedy. I absolutely
Nice.
love it.
Awesome.
But being that
Awesome.
you haven't seen it, how about you tell us a movie that you have seen and you put as number 3?
Oh man, this as I'm looking at my list, I'm like, do I move them in real time right now? But I honestly, I think if it makes the five, to me, there's not much distinguishing five and one. Like if this is on, this is the movie that I want to watch. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Let me
19.
stop you though.
Yeah,
I do feel that 5, 4, 3, and 2 can change places. But like
yeah,
for me,
yeah,
my
yeah,
number
yeah, yeah,
one, like when we sat down to do this, I automatically knew what my number one was going to be.
yeah,
So for me, I would say, yeah, these can change around, but my number one stays the same.
yeah. No, for sure. I think one, and like I said, these three that I'm about to say, when we talked about we're doing comedies, these three were there. There was
Hmm.
no debate. There was no whatever. I honestly, I knew my one. I mean, I knew where these were. Three and two,
Yeah,
yeah, I could probably flip, but they're either three or two. Doesn't matter. Depends on the day, right?
right.
Um, so I'm gonna go to 1995, and I'm gonna bring back another guy who's been mentioned a few times today already because
Mhm.
he's just too good to pass this up. This is my favorite movie that he did,
Okay.
without a doubt, without a doubt. And it was early on in his career, 95. And I'm speaking about Adam Sandler again.
All right.
But this is my favorite Sandler movie by far. When I was growing up, and high school, junior high school time, and Napster and downloading, burning CDs and doing all this stuff was kind of the thing to do. I did this, and a lot of times we made mixed CDs of just stuff that we wanted to hear. I made a mixed CD, and I'm not even kidding you, of just quotes of this movie. And I this probably says something wrong about me. I don't know if but it was like 25 tracks of just quotes from this movie. And
That's
I would
hilarious.
listen to it all the time, because it's just so funny.
Yeah.
It's another movie kind of like my number four, where it's just the whole time is packed with comedy. And I'm gonna go to 1995's Billy Madison.
Billy
Billy Madison
Madison.
is my favorite movie. Again, Adam Sandler, Darren McGavin, Bridget Wilson Sampras, who plays Veronica Vaughn. You've got Norm Macdonald in this one. You've got Chris Farley. You've got all of these guys, Bradley Whitford. It's just such a funny movie. Back to school, back to
Hey,
school to prove to dad that I'm not a fool. This is
you're pretty good
and
at that.
what I say. I've practiced plenty of times. Unfortunately,
Sorry,
but
Courtney. Sorry.
sorry. Listen. I've repented plenty of times for that, but this is the movie again because I had that quote CD. I cannot physically get through this movie without quoting it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing it as a service. Other people need to hear me say the words of the
Yes.
movie. They have to.
Oh, they have to.
I'm performing. I'm a part of this.
It's a service,
It's a service to them. I'm really,
a
yeah.
calling, one
I'm
might
thinking
say.
about them. It's not
Yes.
about me. I'm
You're
thinking
such
about
a
them.
giver. You're
Yeah, yeah. That's
such a
what this.
giver.
um, but yeah, so the premise again, this guy who's just a deadbeat or whatever, he's got a millionaire, billionaire dad, right? Who's giving over his estate, and in order to inherit it, he has to go back through school. But he does every grade, within a week or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to see Adam Sandler as the 90s Adam Sandler sitting in a class, here, I don't understand this. You got a dog. You got a responsibility. He's sitting at circle time, reading the story, doing macaroni necklaces. Hey, Billy, why did you paint the duck purple? Well, honestly, I've never seen a purple duck, and quite frankly, I'd like to see one. It's another thing where that line in itself is not fun.
Right.
If anyone else says it, it's not funny, but it's how he says it. It's in the setting that he says it. It's everything
Hmm.
about the little nuances of Adam Sandler
Yeah.
that just make this. Oh, Doyle rules! Like I'm having Tourette's of these these quotes right now that I'm going through. In fact, the other day I said this. I was with a couple pastors. We were going to a conference, and one of them didn't. It's late nights at conferences, you get up or whatever. And one of them was like, yeah, I can't get up today. Or it's like, I'm struggling to get up. And I was like, if you stay home today, you can help me shave my armpits. Oh my gosh, I'll go to school. Like I love this movie.
Wow.
The ending scene, or that when they're doing kind of like the Jeopardy thing at the end, and
Mhm.
business ethics, and just man, Captain, yeah, it's such a great movie, quotable, everything. I found a fact too. There's the dodgeball scene, which is such a funny scene. So I think at this scene, Billy's kind of like in third, fourth grade, something like that, and there's a scene where he's throwing the dodgeball at these kids, and it just kind of cuts back and forth. And I always thought it was, it's just like a little montage or whatever. But actually, in that scene, Adam Sandler hit the kids with the dodgeball as hard as he possibly could. And the
What?
editor, they had to cut the scenes like this because they had to cut away quickly from each kid because they were crying the whole time. Adam Sandler is a monster. And that's why it's so fast cut in that scene.
Oh
But
my
I think
God.
I think if I had to boil this movie down to the one scene that if I was gonna replay this scene all time, it would be this. It would let's begin scene. Here we go. Hey man, you making friends with the wall over there? Ah, I can't turn around. I peed my pants. What do you mean you peed your go? Hey, peeing your pants is cool. Everyone pees their pants. If peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis. That's the grossest thing I've ever heard. Let's go. It's my favorite scene. They visit this little Amish town or something like that, and he pees himself. And then all the kids are getting back on the bus, and every one of them's got pee on their pants the whole time. Oh my gosh! And Chris Farley's the
Wow.
bus driver. I could go on for days. I
Mhm.
almost quoted the whole movie to you just now, but
Yeah.
please, 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 go watch Billy Madison if you haven't done it.
I have seen Billy Madison. I am actually surprised. I mean, that tells me a little bit about you because most of the time when people are talking about that era of movies, it's Happy Gilmore
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
tend to love.
and I love that movie. I
Yeah.
do. I personally, for what one reason or the other, watched Billy Madison more.
Okay.
I watched, and in fact, I probably don't even put that in my top. If I was on my show, I wouldn't put it
Dollar
in my top four.
75.
I don't put that one in my favorite Sandler movies. And again, it's great. It's a great movie, but
Yeah.
I just didn't watch it as much for whatever reason. I don't know. It just didn't get played as much. So
Yeah.
I could have done my five favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
Easy,
Sounds like it.
easy. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
this is the last appearance of Adam Sandler today. So he's had a good run.
yeah, it's a good run.
He's made three of mine, or three of
I'm
my
noticing
10.
that, that's pretty awesome. You know.
It's a good showing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah. So what's your what's your next comedy?
Well, my next comedy is straight out of 1980. It is probably one of the most influential films as far as parodies go. It's from what I feel. Um, and it's Airplane.
Oh yeah, good
Okay,
one.
Robert Hayes and
Oh
Julia
my
Haggerty. I mean, you've got one of my favorite scenes. Okay, first of all, is when they're in the cockpit and you've got Captain Over, First Officer Roger, and Victor Basta, and they're talking about, okay, what's the vector, Victor? I don't know. Are you over? Roger that. What? There's so many, just off-color jokes and just straight out non-politically correct stuff that you could not do today. And it wouldn't, somebody watching it today for the first time would not get half of the stuff. I mean,
right.
you've got Beaver's mom in there, and it's like, what? But there are so many things that have been done in this movie that are redone later, and of course you've got Leslie Nielsen, and yes, I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley. Just, I mean, one of the most iconic comedic lines of all times. All the flashbacks, and then you've got on the ground, you've got the whole crew who's trying to help them land it, and he's like, oh, I picked the wrong day to stop drinking. Oh, I picked the wrong day to stop smoking cigarettes. Oh, I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing airplane glue.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
Just
gosh.
crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And for people who aren't familiar with it, as a matter of fact, it came up that the airport movies were a major influence onto this one, and another movie that was called, I think, Zero Hour. And they took those two plots and pulled them and pretty much made the script for this movie and then put all the comedy into it.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And here is a movie that got a sequel that I thought deserved a sequel, and they did it in a good way, in a fun way, and they even bring back the autopilot.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The balloon, the air inflatable. Yeah.
yeah.
I like the quote is like, you better tell the captain we got to land as soon as we can. This woman's got to get to a hospital. A hospital. What is it? It's a big building with sick people in it, but that's not the
That's not
point.
important right now.
Oh
And
my
the
gosh.
two young kids who are sitting next to each other drinking coffee, just they're acting so adult like. And
Yeah.
the nun who goes to sing and she keeps popping out the IV of the little sick girl. There's just so many funny things in this movie. That
One-liners. I think
oh
that's the joy. There's so many, just again, if we're going to talk about quotes, like just so many amazing one-liners, don't call me Shirley. I mean, that's probably one of the favorite, gosh, I'm gonna get out of it, quotes and comedy of all time. It's going to be one of those ones that ranks pretty high in most
yes.
people's, but yeah, I
And
love.
so we could sit here and talk about all of the different funny one-liners. So what I did is I found a very interesting little tidbit. So do you remember when Ted gets to the airport and they're talking about the loading between in the red zone is only for this, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
a man's voice that comes on and then a woman's voice, and they start arguing.
Hmm.
So they got voice actors to come in and do those lines, and the director was just not happy with it at all. So they actually tracked down the man and woman who did the LAX recordings for all of that, and they brought them in and they
No way.
recorded those lines.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's great. And again, it launched so many things. I mean, I know Leslie Nielsen already had been in a lot of comedic roles, but he also had a lot of serious roles. So this one helped to launch, the Naked Gun trilogy.
yeah, that's what I
And
was thinking. Yeah.
mhm,
That's a
mhm.
that's a good
Yeah,
launch.
yeah,
That's a good segue there. Yeah, who knows?
yeah.
Um,
So
I love that pig, man, and like you said, a well deserved sequel too.
yes.
Much better than Anchorman 2 for sure. That
Yeah,
is.
Shatner owns that film sometimes, some scenes.
Yeah,
Uh,
good one, good
all
one,
right.
good one, good one.
So we are now at the point where it is your penultimate choice. Ching, ching, ching. Because I
That's a
paid
good word.
$5 for that word and I use it every episode. That
Good
means
job.
you're number two, sir. You said
Yes.
number two.
Who does number two work for? It's not that movie at
No,
all.
it's not that
That
movie.
would have been a good spot to use that one, but I didn't. I didn't think about that. There was no doubt in my mind that this is here. This is my oldest of the movies, but it's only going back to 86. So it's not
Oh,
like
okay.
it's this tremendously old movie. And I'm just gonna say the quote, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. I'm going with Matthew Broderick's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's no doubt in my mind that this is one of the greatest. Listen, if I'm gonna put my list of favorite movies of all time,
Uh-huh.
regardless of genre of movie. Now, most of them are going to be comedy just because it's my favorite. But even if I was just going to pick movies in general, Ferris Bueller's Day Off makes my list every day.
Really?
This is such an iconic movie. That's one of our favorite words over at Rushmore Show. For whatever reason, we use iconic and
Oh.
nostalgic are our two favorite words.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's so iconic. I mean, we talk about, Alan Ruck in this movie. This is a John Hughes movie, right? John
Mhm.
Hughes has this, he owned the 80s of
Oh,
this
yes.
come to age movie genre kind of deal. And this to me is my favorite John Hughes movie by far. But yeah, man, like everything in this movie, Cameron, is just, they take the car and everything, and the whole fight back and forth. I'll go, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go. And Mr. Rooney, and I love the line. It says, "I don't trust that Ferris as far as I can throw him." Well, with your bad back, Mr. Rooney, I wouldn't throw anyone. Like, they all think he's a righteous dude.
Dude.
I love
Jennifer Grey, the sister.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. This is a great movie. Cool soundtrack too. Actually,
Mhm.
we just talked about movie soundtracks on the Rushmore show, and this one got brought up. I think Kirk brought this one up, but it's really cool, like synth 80s, kind of weird, like that do bo bo, that whole like yes song. The ending scene, man, when they're running back, he's trying to get back home and everything, and he's chasing down his sister. Everybody's trying to get to the house at the same time. He's just getting there.
Yeah.
But the scene again is the parade, right? Shake It Up
Oh yeah.
Baby and Donka Shane, and he does all that. Fun fact about that one too is that obviously this is downtown Chicago, and this is everything that's happening there. A lot of the workers, like when they pan to like the construction workers and the guys,
Mhm.
they were literally construction workers at
Oh
their job
really?
that day. Yeah, and they were just there's a parade happening, there's music, and so what are you going to do? You're going to kind of dance and be a part of it, right? So now, obviously, there was a lot of stage actors, like the ones who are coming up the stairs and doing the whole like full dance move stuff, like
Yeah.
that was part of it.
That
But
was
when they pan,
choreographed? Really?
yeah, I know.
Oh,
Well, it happens every day in Chicago.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago. That scene too, it's going to get real snooty, snotty. I love this. I've always misquoted this too, and I don't know. So when they go to the baseball game, right, and they're in the stands, and he says Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. So wing batter. I always thought he said Kennedy
Uh-huh.
swing. I was just whatever, but I watched it. I've recently become that guy who does subtitles in
Oh
his
yeah.
movies. I have to do it. I can't not watch it with subtitles anymore. Kirk hates me for that. Kirk is an adamant, don't put words on the screen. I pick up on things, and
Yeah.
through that I found out he's actually saying can't hit it, because
Oh,
which makes
okay.
way more
Way
sense,
more
right? Like
sense.
he's wait, but I'm still gonna say Kennedy. But yeah, this movie is so good. The scene where they're at the Museum of Art, and it's
Mhm.
just like there's no real talking happening, and it's really not even funny there. It's not, but it's just an iconic scene too.
Yes.
Um, this is probably the most different of all my comedies that I pick, because this is not really kind of that um, just stupid comedy. Not that
Mhm.
it's like a super deep comedy either.
Yeah,
It's
but
kind of just like a teen, whatever 80s
yeah.
kind of feel. But yeah, and then the last thing I'll say too is with my daughter playing piano now, I'm really trying to figure out how to put in the puke noises on the keyboard so I can do yeah. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, so one thing I
Yes.
have to say about that movie, I recently saw, and I don't know if it actually happened or if it's on YouTube or they're talking about, but I'd heard that they were trying to make a movie based on the two guys, the valets who take Cameron's car,
Oh,
and it's supposed to be a whole movie about the time that they have the car and
that's
everything that they
amazing.
do. Wouldn't that be just a fun film?
I would absolutely watch that. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
So anyway,
because
like I
they
said, I don't know if it was real or not.
that I want it to be real.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really
Well,
want that to be real.
get on that.
So,
You know.
one thing that is real is
Uh-huh.
that you have two more picks.
I do.
So,
I do.
yeah. So what's your penultimate? I get to use that word too.
Hey, I still earn the quarter. As long as it's
So,
used, it doesn't
it's a,
matter.
it's a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun.
So my number two is the movie that is probably most quotable for me. There was a time period, like you said, you made your tape with the thing. I actually made a cassette tape of the entire movies, just the track, the voices, and
Nice.
I would constantly have this thing on loop, and it is Monty Python and the Holy Grail from
Mm,
1975. Now,
mm.
this is a polarizing film because there are people who either love it or hate it. I've never met people that are like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty good." So I'm going to ask you first, which side of that fence are you?
Um, I still want to be able to talk about my number one.
Oh, I'm not going to cut you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't like it. And
Okay.
I'll and it's not, it's just personal. I get it.
Uh-huh.
I understand it's got a huge following, mad respect for it. I just don't understand it. So, but
And that's okay.
I want to hear why you love this movie.
Well, I love it because of the absurdity. Just as they're clumping along with their coconut shells, when the French when they come up to the French uh, castle and they're wanting to see their holy grail. Oh yes, it is very nice. Just they go into the with the Black Knight when he cuts his arms and it's like tis but a scratch. You don't have any bloody arms. Oh, you're running away now, huh? Come back. Just all of these different things. And then the end of the movie just abruptly ends with the actors being arrested and taken off the film. I don't know, there's just so much. But again, it is a movie. It's not a movie that I would say, oh, come on, you're wrong. You're not watching it the right way or whatever. I grew up watching Monty Python and the Flying Circus.
Mhm.
So the British humor is very hard in this movie. And if
Yeah.
you're not a fan of the British horror or you just don't get the cadence to it sometimes, you're not going to like it. And I don't care how many times you're going to watch it, you're just not
Yeah.
going to enjoy it. So it's totally okay. Thanks for being on the show. And we'd like to.
Listen, and I'll say this too, and that's exactly what it is. It's the British, and again, it's most of the time I get burnt at the stake when I talk about this because
Not on this
most
show.
people. Well, the good thing is you're in Lafayette. I mean, I've got at least
Oh, I could
two and a
find
half,
you.
3 hours
Yeah, you'd need the head
get going.
start.
So, yeah, but most of the time, and there is, you're exactly right. It's so polarizing because the people who love it, this is everything they love. Like
Mhm.
this defines them almost, right?
Yeah.
And the people who hate it, I'll say this: I don't ever want to be that guy who's just going to come out and say, "Man, this is stupid." With music, and this will make sense in a second. There's this whole idea of like the guilty pleasure song, and like I shouldn't tell people that I like this music. I'm never on that. I'm like, dude, if you like this song, like
Yeah.
I don't even care. My kids are into Taylor Swift right now. I would never be a Taylor Swift fan, but
Uh-huh.
I cannot say this. I can't knock her. She can write a catchy song. I mean,
Oh,
like
wow.
you can't deny it. But it's
She's
the
a
same thing with these.
billionaire.
She's
A
doing something right.
billionaire.
She's doing something right.
Her fans caused an earthquake.
Yeah, it's
You know?
wild. Yeah. So, but the reason I say that is that, like, if you love that movie, dude, I love that you love that movie.
Yeah.
I've just never, the British humor,
Yeah.
the British, and I think we actually kind of talked about this at the RetroCon. The British, like the way that it's filmed
Mhm.
is like uneasy for me too. And it's
Oh,
not
okay.
just Monty Python, but like, and maybe please educate me. I want people to show me like something that I would enjoy. That's that. But a lot of these like British films and stuff seem like they were filmed 15, 20 years ago, but they're
Yeah.
being filmed like there's just some kind of weird grittiness to, I don't
Mhm.
know. But I just have never been able to get into it. There's
So
like I think, go
let
ahead.
me ask you this. Have you ever watched A Fish Called Wanda?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, I would challenge you to find A Fish Called Wanda and watch it.
Okay.
It's got a couple of the guys from there. The director, I believe, Eric, no, not Eric Idle, not John Cleese and Eric Idle are in it. But it's also got some American actors. Kevin Kline is in it,
Jamie Lee
and
Curtis is in it.
maybe Lee Curtis is in it. And it's it has that some of that humor, but without the visual aspects that you're talking about.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I would challenge you to watch that film and see if you like it. It is
Okay.
probably my wife's favorite comedy of all times. There's a scene where Eric Idle plays an assassin who has a stutter, and Kevin Kline plays what he thinks is an assassin, but he's not very good at it. And he's telling, "Oh no, Ken is coming to kill me." And
it's
that's one of those things that just comes out of nowhere, in this household.
it's got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Yeah.
that's saying something. 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. 93% on Just Watch. So people like this. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's free on Tubi. So there
I
we go.
think I
Added it to
really
my list.
think
I've
it
added
would
it to
be
my list.
something that would give you the British humor, but without all of that jauntiness. And it's set in, present day. I think this is like in the 90s.
And the other thing too is, again, to that British American kind of comparison there, I and we're talking movies today, but if I were to go TV, like The Office is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Mhm.
I don't like the British one.
I hear
And
that a
it's and
lot.
it's and it's because it's just drier. I don't know. Like there's something about the comedy it just doesn't register with me. Now some people love it, some
Yeah.
whatever, but
And
yeah.
some of the things, the little colloquialisms.
Did you get paid
Uh,
for that word too?
no, but I should be. By the syllable.
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah.
things that they zing out on the BBC version or the British version,
Right.
you're just like, huh? Well, it'll go right by you. Where with the American stuff, it doesn't. I mean, you absorb it all.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I know who love The Office just don't like the British version. And I've
Yeah.
watched it. It's fine. It's not. I probably really enjoy the American version more. But a lot of that has to do with Steve Carell and
Yeah.
Rainn Wilson and
Absolutely.
those guys.
Yeah.
So no, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and ask you your number one. I was really pretty much ready to end it, but now we've gone this far. Let's go ahead and hear your number one, your favorite comedy of all time that will never ever change.
It will never change, and I'm cheating because if I've already made you mad with my thoughts on Monty Python, I'm cheating on this one because I'm actually taking two movies in one
Oh
because I
God.
can't separate them. I can't in my
Okay.
mind separate them. I will say this: they came out back to back years, so
Okay.
it was it's a sequel, right? It's a series of movies, and I gosh, excuse me, baking
Baking
powder.
powder?
Wayne's World 1 and 2 is the most quotable movie ever. Michael Myers, Dana Carvey, Rob Lowe. You go to the second one. You got
Tia
Christopher
Carrera.
Walken, Tira Carrera. Yeah, you got Chris Farley. Rip Taylor's in the second
Oh
one.
yeah.
It's just so many amazing, 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 amazing quotes in this. Uh, if you're gonna spew into this. I love Dana Carvey. I think he's severely underrated too.
Hmm.
He didn't quite have the career that Michael Myers has had. I guess as far as like the notoriety, maybe. But in his own sense, Dana Carvey's a fantastic, fantastic
Oh
comedian.
yeah, for sure. Because
Again,
he has
this
to
is
play
one.
it down here, where
Mhm.
Myers could go all over.
Right, right, and he played it so well. His,
Hmm.
Garth Algar is one of the greatest characters, I believe. I mean, without a doubt. But you go through that movie and you just quote the whole time. In fact, when at the Rushmore show, when we are just about to hit go live, because we do live recordings now, we go 5, 4, 3, and that's from Wayne's World. That's
Yes.
from Wayne's World, and it's just we talk about Bohemian Rhapsody. Can
Oh
you
yeah.
listen to that song and not do the headbang that they do
Nope.
there? I mean, you can't. It's just become this thing. I read this thing today too that Queen, in fact, in the States, was
Mhm.
kind of losing a little bit of its
Yes.
in the
I've read
90s,
that
and
too.
this movie actually boosted Queen's success in the States post 92, right? So
Right.
um it's so good. Tia's Why You Want to Break My Heart, all those songs that are in there are
Yeah.
songs that I literally put on my playlist today that I listened to.
Ballroom Blitz.
Gosh, yeah, Ballroom Blitz is fantastic. I mean, a sphincter says what?
What?
Sphincter says what?
What?
We talk about. I mean, we just every time I can fit a quote in where it's like, the suck cut. It sucks while it cuts. Well, it certainly does suck.
For me, it's
You
the
know,
product placement where they're
yeah. Oh
drinking the
my gosh.
Pepsi and eating the pizza. I would
Yeah,
never
man.
do that.
It's like some people just do stuff for money.
Yeah.
And that's wrong, man.
Wrong.
Dude, honestly, we do that because in that scene too, my wife and I will literally, I'll be like, gosh, I just have a headache. And she'll be like, here, take 2 of these. Huh, tiny, yellow, different. Like, it's like so. So good, man. The scene
Uh,
where Rob Lowe comes up to him, and this is all Wayne's World 1. I haven't even started talking about Wayne's World 2 yet. But where Rob Lowe comes up, hey, we're thinking about making some changes to the show. What do you think? And he's got this robotic hand, and he just beats it with a hammer. We fear change. In the music scene and the music shop, so there's two things about that. Dana Carvey's drum solo is actually Dana Carvey playing the
right.
drums, which is really cool. He's a legitimate musician. And Michael Myers, the classic scene of no stairway denied. You know
Yeah.
why they threw that in there? Is
No.
that they could only play 3 notes of that song legally in it, and that they were
Oh,
denied playing Stairway to Heaven. So he plays the 3 notes, and that's why they throw
they
that
stopped
sign
it.
in there like
Yeah,
that.
that's
It's
awesome.
just little
So
little things like that throughout, man, are just it's just so good. So, but that's Wayne's World 1. Wayne's World 2, again, in its own right, is just an amazing movie too. Talk about throwing Wayne stock. My favorite line in that one is the whole scene where they're getting the permits and the guy's got the glass eye, and he says, and they're trying so hard, they keep saying I, and they don't mean to do it to offend him. And they're like, I like to think I have an eye for details. And we're going to take this home, run it through with a fine tooth comb, and cross our T's and dot our lowercase J's. Dude, this when they're talking about Wayne stock and the bands that are going to be there. Oh yeah, we're going to have Aerosmith, and we're going to have Pearl Jam, and we're going to have a guy fashioning a canoe in the sound booth. What? No, Rip Taylor. Yeah, dude, oh my gosh, I could go on. I've said
Yeah.
it for every movie, but I could just I love these movies. These movies have defined Andy.
Yeah.
They've shaped me into the person that I am today. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't
It's what
know.
it's the
It
reality.
just is what it is, right? And there is I don't believe a movie's going to have to come along that is I don't know how a movie can supplant Wayne's World for me.
Mm,
It's become it's so just part of my DNA.
right.
That it's just I love it.
That's
I love
awesome. Great pick, man. That is a great pick.
it.
I have two comments. Okay.
Yes.
So the first comment is, did you know that Will Ferrell is also an accomplished drummer?
Yes. So he is. He plays for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, doesn't he?
Yeah. And he sure I was sure. Have you ever seen the two of them face off? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was
Oh my
so
gosh.
awesome.
Yeah. And actually Chad Smith is one of my favorite drummers of all time too. Is Red
Oh
Hot Chili
really?
Peppers. That guy is insanely good.
Yeah.
But it is funny how much they look like each other.
They really do. They
It's
really do.
crazy. Yeah.
And number two is, while I think Wayne's World 1 and 2 are both amazing films, my favorite Wayne's World is when Aerosmith came on and Tom Hanks was the roadie on Saturday Night Live.
Yes. That's
And he
yeah.
was check one, syllables, check one. And they're upstairs in the breakfast nook with Wayne's mom. Uh, and then they come down and play. I mean, that to me was just the epitome of
Yeah.
Wayne's World.
You know that Wayne's World 2, so when they have the concert, Nirvana was actually offered to be in the movie,
Oh, really?
to be one of the bands that was going to play Wayne stock, and then they eventually declined it. So it would have been kind of cool.
That would have been.
Nirvana was big '93. It was a great time for that. So
Yeah.
to be able to see Dave Grohl, who is another one of my favorite drummers,
Hmm.
be on there would have been really cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's one of Mike Myers' childhood dreams was to actually, for whatever reason, was to have a cable access TV show as a
Oh,
kid. And so this kind of played into his obviously as an SNL skit starting
yeah.
that way, and then it just taking off to the movie that it did. And it's I've heard, but I've heard this for years, and I've want it to be true that there's a Wayne's World 3 in the works. And I
Ooh.
think it would be really cool to be the same, Wayne and Garth, but like in today's music industry, and like
Yeah.
what is, the Hollywood scene, all that kind of stuff. Like now, if you go to IMDb, it does say that it's in production,
Oh,
but
okay.
but again, that's been out for a long time now. I don't
It's like
know
the
if
$6 Million Man movie.
Yeah, I think they actually on SNL, SNL had like a whatever anniversary at some point in the last, I don't know, 10 years, 5, 10 years, something like that. Or Mike Myers came back and hosted, something happened, and they actually did a Wayne's World skit on
Really?
there.
And Dwayne
You know,
and Carvey came
yeah,
on?
yeah, and Carvey was on there.
Wow.
It was really cool to see that, but that's all that we've got.
Yeah.
There's nothing about any kind of dates or filming or anything like that. But I
That would be
really,
cool.
really need that to happen for my own
Yeah.
sanity.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I would go to see that. I would pay the $15 for a ticket these days.
Well, it's the popcorn that gets you.
Yeah.
All right, so my number one was actually my number 1A and 1B essentially.
Okay.
Do
That's
you
true.
have a do you have a single film, or
I
are
do
you
have a
cheating?
single film. I have the single most favoritist comedy film of all time for me.
Oh,
And it is a movie in black and white, but it is not from the pre-60s. It
uh-oh.
is from 1974, and the talented Gene Wilder plays Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, who has inherited his grandfather's estate in Transylvania. I am, of course, talking about Young Frankenstein. This movie has so many wonderful things about it. Frau Brucke, the lovely Terry Garr. What knockers? Well, thank you. Roll, roll, roll in the hay. I mean, just like
Yeah.
with you, I could go on and on and on. This is a tribute to the early Universal monster films, where he comes back and with his assistant Igor and again the lovely Terry Garr, and they create his own monster played by Peter Boyle, Ray Romano's dad from Everybody Loves Raymond. And everything's going okay until the doctor's fiance shows up, played by Madeline Kahn. Add to that mix the investigation led by Inspector Kemp, played by Kenneth Mars, who uses his arm as a hold for his darts. I love that scene. There's just so many. There's laughter and frights, and of course, one of the best dance scenes in any non-musical movie ever. And I mean, I can't go on about how many times I've seen this film, how I could quote so many, different times. How he sticks the knife into his into his leg as he's trying to make a point.
It's the, like
Um,
the you hardly touched your food, and he slaps the food. There, I touched it. I touched it. Is that better? I love that. Gene
oh,
Wilder, man. I mean, yeah, this is a great cast in this one. Mel Brooks, Peter Boyle, like we said, all of these guys. It's just, this is a good one. This is a one that I watched with my dad for sure. My dad was a big fan of this one.
huh?
But it was this, and it was honestly, it was this, and I think how you started your list, or it was in your
It's bookends. I'm just noticing that
well,
I'm doing that.
it was in your honorable mentions, I believe. Blazing Saddles, right? Was that
Yes.
in honorable mentions? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So he was a big Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, sorry, fan.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein fan. So yeah, I love this, man. I love this pick. I love everything about this. This is so
It's
good.
awesome.
So good.
You like
Ah,
me. You really like me.
it's much better than your second pick.
Oh, come on
I
now. Let me
well,
get
that's
your
the
IP address and
I'm
ping you.
just telling you, that's how numbers work. Number one has to be better than number two. So you did right. You
I
did
did
good.
right. Oh, why? Thank you.
You're someday you're gonna learn how to do this show. You're gonna
I
get it. You'll
appreciate it.
figure it out. You're gonna figure
I'm
it out. Just
hoping
keep
by
doing it.
about, this is episode 130. Maybe if I get up into the 200s, it'll
At
help.
that point, it's well-oiled machine.
Having you behind me really just helps push me forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Good stuff,
Wow.
man.
So
Good
this was
stuff.
some great stuff, man. I knew this was going to be
Yes.
fun, but
Yes.
wow, this is you've got some good choices there, man. This is the point of the show where I would ask you, well, what would you like to do next? And
What I
so
like to do next.
yes, so you're automatically get to come back. You don't have to say it right now. It can be something in comedies. It can be the greatest comedic scenes or comedians or whatever you like. So
I think
chew on it.
that, yeah, I mean, I don't have to chew on it too long because
Oh,
I think
okay.
like while comedy is my big thing, I'm a big music fan. Now, again, I don't know a specific topic, but it's something in the music realm would be super fun if that's something that you guys
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
do.
I've done Hairspray's metal songs. I've
Yeah,
done, of course, Prince.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about genres, if you want to talk about, greatest
I'd have to chew on
albums,
a specific one, but yeah,
you chew on
this
it.
would be it would be something to music because I find that as of right now, while we're recording this, we're in the middle of our music series with the Rushmore show, and everything that um, as passionate and as much as I love comedies, and I've
Uh-huh.
spoken about these, music to me is my other kind of escape, right? In
Right.
a sense, where it's like it doesn't have to be funny, right? Like, but it's just like as a musician for 20 plus years now, and as just somebody who just loves music, I have a wide range of things. I played in metal bands when I was growing up, like death metal, like crazy stuff. But I always listened to, while I was doing that, I'm listening to Elton John. I'm listening to BB King. I'm listening to, Backstreet Boy. I'm like literally everything. I don't have we're actually filming a guilty pleasure episode in a
Uh-huh.
couple of weeks. And I don't know how I'm going to do that because maybe I'll think of like what people would think is a guilty pleasure, but
Yeah.
I certainly don't think of it as that.
So I
But
have a
yeah.
topic, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
going to throw this out and see what you think. I'm talking about musical pairings, all
Okay.
right?
What do you think?
Where you take a song from one genre or from one era or something, and then you find another song from a completely different area that they somehow go together. Okay.
Okay.
You don't have to do that because
No, I love
that's
that. I love that
yeah.
because that's a challenge. But are you saying like they sound the
No,
same or they're just kind of
you
same
have
in the
to
same
come up
vein?
you have to come up with what it is that connects them. Okay. So
Uh,
say for example you wanted to do you know a Kiss, rock and roll, party all night, and then you do uh, Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA,
okay.
and they're
Party.
both
Yeah.
multi-generational party songs.
I'm a
Okay, that's
huge Kiss fan, by the way. I don't
yeah.
know if you know that. I have a
I don't.
tattoo of Gene Simmons on me.
Do you?
So
I
yeah.
don't show it to me right now. It's
Yeah,
a family
I'm
show.
literally as I'm looking right here. I have a lamp that's right here.
Uh-huh.
That's a Kiss lamp.
Ah,
I have Kiss comics.
yeah, with the blood.
I'm a huge Kiss fan. So we could
Yeah,
do a Kiss episode,
I've
and I
did a
would
Kiss
be.
episode.
Oh,
Okay.
did you? Okay, I'm gonna have
Yes,
to
I
pull
did.
that up. Kiss
Yeah.
songs.
Yes, with Kiss songs.
Oh
And is
goodness,
it
I'm
with
gonna.
Kendall Fontenot from Sasquatch podcast,
Oh, nice.
Squash Pod. The one about Sasquatch. Um, but um, we talked about individual songs.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
we could do something. I'll tell you what, we could pick 5 Kiss songs, just like we were just saying, 5 Kiss songs and 5 songs that go with them
Mm, mm,
and
mm.
put them together and why.
It's a lot more
Mhm.
specific than just comedies, so I
Yeah.
like that.
Okay. Well,
Maybe helps it out a little bit. Yeah,
think about it and see what you
let's
want to do.
chew
We'll
on
pick
it. But
something.
I'm in
All
for
right.
sure.
Well, that is awesome. Well, man, I really want to tell you thank you for taking the time to make this list and churning over it because I know that you did. I know it was tough. But I appreciate you putting all the effort into it.
Yes, yeah. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been cool connecting at these cons.
Uh-huh.
And maybe you guys were there live in attendance at our moving
Yeah.
panel that we did.
Yeah.
That was just, I mean, people are still talking about it.
Yeah. The
I don't know if
nuns
like
especially loved it.
I can't go to the grocery store without people saying, "Hey, were you
Me
that
too.
guy who was right?"
Right.
So,
I'm right there with you. It
we
was
talked
it
about.
was it moved me. It
Yeah,
moved me,
it was one of those things in culture that just every so often something happens that just shapes culture. And
Yes.
that I feel like, and I'm not speaking too highly. I'm trying not to. I'm trying
Yeah.
to be very humble about it.
Well, you're just a part of it. I mean, it
I was
was.
just, I can only be a little part. It wouldn't have been the same without all of us for that,
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree. I agree.
I don't even know why I started saying that, but no, it's been cool. It's been cool connecting at the cons and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Because again, like I said, my favorite thing, is just the connecting, right? Is
Yeah.
the community, is doing all that kind of stuff. So it's been a ton of fun. I don't know why people still want to listen to us. I don't get it. But for secrets out, wait, we don't have to listen to them. But it's been cool. It's been a ton of fun.
I'm looking forward to September when we get to do RetroCon again.
Yeah, it's gonna be
that's gonna be
super
fun.
man. Very excited for that.
Yeah.
Very, very excited, man.
Maybe we'll do our panel time part 2.
I don't know. They're gonna have to get a bigger venue.
That's exactly what I was fixing to say. We'd have to do the overflow because
Yeah,
you remember how many people were in there. It was, I mean, I couldn't even count the people that were in there at one point.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It's just, and it's for the safety of the people. We need a bigger spot. It's not. I can handle it. I can get it. I can handle it. I'm sure you can.
Security is an issue too.
Right?
So,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm with you. Okay, well. So I'd also like to thank all of you out there in the podcast universe for joining us for this episode of Fave 5 from Fans. We hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I did. If you did, please leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. It's a free way that you can help to grow the Plastic Microphone Studios. If you like the show, consider telling a friend about it. And if you don't like the show, maybe consider telling someone who doesn't understand what an incredible movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail is. And that way you could maybe educate them. I don't know if you know anybody in your life like that, but those people deserve to know. And if you like the show, please consider telling someone multiple times. I'm just saying. We invite you to interact with us on Twitter/X, Fave5 from Fans. New episodes come out every Friday, so be sure to subscribe and follow us so you can catch all the episodes like a virus. And don't forget to look for our other show, The Complete Disarray with Jamie Ray, where we take one topic and just ramble on and on about it, but in a perfectly good way. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Thanks so much for joining us. Andy, take us home.
Yeah, I don't know if you read your memo or not, but we're going to need you to come in on the next episode. Okay. Yeah.
Peace out. That's great. I love it.